From Qatar all the way to Canada, Al-Jazeera English is on its way to the Great White North. In its fight for a Canadian broadcasting license, Al-Jazeera English has had to alleviate some of the concerns that many groups around Canada have regarding its programming. They believe that it could one day resemble that of its sister station, Al-Jazeera Arabic, which has in the past been accused of airing some anti-Semitic and anti-American programming. But now, after watching the station more often, and for some of the leaders, speaking with Al-Jazeera English's managing director Tony Burman directly, some of those concerns have been laid to rest. The Canadian Jewish Congress is one of the groups Burman spoke to earlier this year.
It was very helpful that Tony reached out to the Jewish community. After all, we were the ones that probably were suffering the most concern in relation to this.
The Canadian Jewish Congress's main concern was whether Al-Jazeera English could be manipulated to air some of the, quote, unabashedly anti-Semitic programming its sister station, Al-Jazeera Arabic, has been accused of broadcasting in the past. But Al-Jazeera English has already established a track record of objective reporting that has been praised by journalists worldwide. Canadian journalism groups believe Al Jazeera offers the world something other stations cannot.
They also have cameras and journalists in situations which sometimes become very hostile, but they're there. So you can recount, for example, the recent issue in Gaza.
Mm-hmm. In the most recent wave of the age-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Al Jazeera English was the only English-language station on the ground in Gaza. The reporting was used by stations all around the world, and their objectivity praised by Israeli and Palestinian journalists alike.
You see this place, for how many families eat from this?
Controversial or not, some Canadians are ready for a different view on global news.
And it's about freedom of expression. Well, there's no neutral news agency, but at least Al Jazeera shows the other side.
Even student groups with members from a multitude of ethnicities are lobbying for Al Jazeera English to come to Canada.
As an African Canadian with family in Africa, for example, I want to know what's going on in Africa. And Al Jazeera English has amazing coverage of what's going on in conflict, the economic development, the conflicts.
Canadian journalists for free expression agrees with the public in thinking that Canada cannot afford to stifle a new news source.
Mass media, we believe that media is part of the democratic process, so we can't choke off and cut off another source of information.
With some of the opposition now on board, Canadians only have to wait for one more thing: official word from the CRTC on whether or not Al Jazeera English will be allowed into the country. That decision is expected very soon. For Rabble TV, I'm Sachin Seth.